The Snowflower Princess. Chapter 2, The Frozen Secret. Story begins in the kingdom of Elyndra, where shimmering mountains touch the clouds and the legendary snowflower bloomed once a year. Two princesses grew beneath the watchful gaze of destiny. In Chapter 1, you saw their world, the laughter of markets, the song of rivers, the glowing snowflower blessing the land, and the tender bond of two sisters, Princess Aveline, bright and graceful, and Princess Selira, fierce yet tender-hearted, carrying a secret no one else knew. But every tale has shadows hidden behind its light. And now, in this chapter, the sisters' journey grows deeper as secrets unfold. Frost creeps into the heart of Elyndra, and the first whispers of destiny begin to stir. This is Chapter 2, The Frozen Secret. The sisters growing older. Years drifted gently across Elyndra, carried like snowflakes on a winter breeze. The palace gardens grew with each season, roses in spring, lilacs in summer, golden leaves in autumn, and always the first snow that Selira felt deep within her veins. Princess Aveline blossomed like a rose touched by morning dew. She was the people's joy, known for her warmth, her wisdom, and her gift for soothing even the stormiest council meetings. Noblemen admired her grace. Farmers praised her kindness. Children adored the princess who always stooped down to listen to their dreams. Princess Selira, on the other hand, was different. She was quick to laugh, sharp with curiosity, bold where others were cautious. But as she grew, so too did the strange gift she carried inside. When her heart was calm, she could cool the air with a sigh. But when fear, anger, or sorrow swelled within her, frost crept across her fingertips, her breath turned to mist, and shards of ice crackled unbidden. Only Aveline knew. Only Aveline saw her sister's trembling hands in the moonlight, clutching them so tightly her knuckles turned pale. "Don't be afraid," Aveline whispered one night as Selira wept by the window, her tears freezing into little crystals on the sill. "You are not cursed. You are part of Elyndra's magic. One day, you'll understand." But Selira wasn't sure. She had heard whispers, old tales muttered by traveling storytellers in the marketplace. When frost creeps where it doesn't belong, beware, for it heralds a shadow that even the snowflower fears. Selira's struggle. The older Selira became, the harder it was to hide. During feasts, goblets frosted over when her emotions ran high. When she laughed too hard, the chandeliers tinkled with thin webs of ice. Once, in a fit of anger after a cruel noble insulted her wildness, her breath fogged the entire hall, leaving nobles shivering in silence. Servants whispered, "Did you feel that chill? Perhaps the mountain winds are stronger this year." But some were not fooled. Eyes narrowed when Selira entered the room. Mothers pulled children closer. She felt their unease settle on her shoulders like chains of frost. At night, she wandered the palace alone, walking through echoing corridors until she found herself in the Hall of Legends. Here, painted upon glass and stone, were the ancient tales of Elyndra. Among them, one story drew her again and again, a figure crowned in frost, eyes glowing like frozen stars, standing in defiance of the snowflower. The inscription beneath was worn by time, but the words still haunted her. "Beware the frostbound, for they are both gift and curse." Selira would stare at the figure until her hands trembled. "Is that me?" she whispered to the dark. The frozen secret. One bitterly cold evening, Selira slipped from the palace and climbed the winding path up the mountain. Snow crunched beneath her boots. The air shimmered with stars. She had come seeking answers, though she wasn't sure what answers looked like. At last, she reached the cliff where the snowflower's glow could be seen, even from afar, faint pulse of silver light at the summit. Kneeling in the snow, she closed her eyes. "Please," she whispered, "tell me what I am." the wind stilled, and then she heard it, a voice, ancient, like cracks spreading through ice. Child of frost, you are bound to me. The snowflowers bloom and your breath are one. When its light falters, so shall you. When you falter, so shall it. Selira gasped. The snow at her feet shivered into delicate frost patterns, blooming like flowers in the dark. No, she whispered. I'm not a curse? But the voice did not answer. The silence pressed against her, heavier than any storm. Whispers in the kingdom. The following days were uneasy. Across Elyndra, strange frosts appeared where no winter should reach. Fields in the south shimmered white overnight, ruining crops. Streams froze even while the sun shone, and people began to talk. It is a sign, some muttered in the markets. The snowflower weakens. Perhaps a curse has awakened. In the palace, Aveline heard these fears and fought to calm them, reassuring her people with gentle words, but even she noticed the growing unease. One evening, Selira confessed, "It's me," she whispered, shaking as frost edged across her sleeves. "The frost, it follows me. The snowflower spoke to me." Aveline drew her sister close, pressing her forehead against hers. "Then we will face it together," she said firmly. "Secrets can weigh like stones, but you are not alone. I will never leave you." And for a moment, Selira believed her. The shadow in the frost. But not all shadows could be held at bay. That night, as Selira slept, a dream came so vivid it chilled her to her soul. She walked through a forest of ice, where the trees glittered like crystal. The air pulsed with whispers. From the frozen mist stepped a figure cloaked, faceless, but burning with frostlight. "You are mine," the shadow hissed. "The kingdom fears you, and rightly so. Why hide when power is yours? Claim it, and Elyndra shall kneel." Selira woke screaming, shards of ice exploding across her chamber walls. Servants rushed in, horrified, whispering of curses, of omens. Her secret was slipping beyond her grasp. The Festival of Light. The day of the Snowflower Festival arrived when the people gathered to honor the bloom upon the mountain. Lanterns lit the streets, music swelled, and the kingdom rejoiced. Selira tried to smile. She wore a gown of sapphire silk. Aveline's hand was gripping hers tightly, but inside, her heart was storming. Every beat, every cheer from the people reminded her of what she hid. At the height of the celebration, she felt it, the pull of the snowflower, throbbing like a heartbeat inside her chest. And then it happened. A child tripped near her feet, and Selira reached instinctively to help. But instead of warmth, frost burst from her palm. The ground cracked with ice, spreading in sharp patterns beneath the crowd. Gasps filled the air. The frost bound. Someone screamed. Torches flickered. Whispers turned to fear. Selira's eyes widened in horror, her own heart pounding like thunder. That night, as the kingdom trembled with fear, Selira fled to the mountain. The snowflower glowed unnaturally bright, its petals edged in frost. She collapsed before it, tears freezing on her cheeks. "Why me?" she begged the night. "Why this curse?" And from the shadows came the whisper again. "Because only you can decide whether Elyndra blooms or shatters." Her heart froze at the words. Was she savior or destroyer? The snowflower flickered, dimming for the first time in living memory. Far below, in the kingdom, people whispered, "The snowflower is dying." And so the fate of Elyndra and of Selira's heart hung trembling in the balance. End of Chapter 2. The Frozen Secret of the Snowflower Princess. We have seen Selira's gift grow too strong to hide, the kingdom's whispers turning to fear, and the snowflower itself flickering for the first time in history. But what is the true link between Selira and the snowflower? Who is the shadow whispering in her dreams? And can Aveline's love hold her sister together when the kingdom begins to see her as a threat? These questions linger, waiting for the next chapter. If you've been enchanted by this tale, stay with us as the story continues. More magic, mystery, and destiny await in the next part of the Snowflower Princess. Subscribe to Sukaw Shorts for the next chapter and join our growing kingdom of dreamers, storytellers, and fairy tale lovers. Your support helps us bring more magical adventures to life, one story at a time. Until then, remember, every snowflake holds a secret, and every heart a choice.